All right, so let's introduce Node.js and how it fits in the entire main stack. Okay, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm just going to remove the whole thing. I'm going to start from scratch, and what we're going to do here first is to make sure that we can run this this little JavaScript on the server side, right? So here we're just going to say our requisite hello world example, hello world. And as far as this is concerned, it's just a JavaScript, something that you might find running on a browser, but this is instead running locally on my desktop. Yes? And from the terminal, I should be able to just run that one file. If I could type. And that's my server.js. There it is. It's the same file here, server.js. And if I run it, I run it by just typing node and then the name of the file. And there indeed it says hello world. And you can barely read that. So we can do it from the command line here. It's a little bit easier to read, I guess. We're in that same directory. I can make this a little bigger. So I can run it by just saying node space server.js, right? It just says hello world. So it's just a JavaScript file that we can run it using Node. And that's all Node is. Node is just an interpreter that we can run JavaScript on the desktop. That's all it is, not even a server, right? It's only an interpreter, right? But we want a server. Okay, so let's create a server. So to create a server, we're going to be using the Express library. And it's documented here, the Express library at expressjs.com. And I welcome you all to become familiar with this library. The reference is here. The latest version is 4.x. We're going to be using some of this, not all of it. And here's a really easy, really quick example on setting up a Node.js server. Right? That's what Express does. Express allows us to very, very quickly, very easily set up a local HTTP server, right, running on our machines. First of all, we'll need to load the library. Well, first of all, we'll need to install the library, right? And the library is installed by using the other Node.js executable, the npm node package manager. Right? We can say npm install, right, and then the package we want to install, and the package is just called Express, right, by its name. Oops. So we can say install Express, right, all by itself, and then it connects to the npm code repository, downloads it, compiles it for your particular version of the OS, a particular framework, and installs it locally on a local file directory called node_modules, right, which to demonstrate, I'm going to blow away. So it's gone. Node modules is gone, right? But when you install it, npm install express, right? It recreates that node modules directory, right? And it puts all the libraries locally in here, right? There's an option for installing the libraries globally, right? So that instead of installing it for each individual a project, you can install it globally for all projects, right? So you don't have to reinstall for each one individually. One thing that I will be hammering and repeating here is that you shouldn't just install it. You should also add at the end --save, right? --save, right? What this is going to do is going to make an entry into the package JSON file, right? As saying that Express is a dependency of this project, meaning this project doesn't run unless you have Express installed. Okay, so that when you deploy this to Heroku, right, Heroku will read your package JSON and say, you need Express. Let me go fetch that, install it, right, so that you can actually run your executable. Make sense? Right. So do the --save. That will do the same thing. It'll install, but and additionally, it'll make an entry into your package JSON file. Okay? Right? This is a very common question I'll get. Yes?
In this case, don't we already have the Express packages?
You do. You do. It overrides it, and just to demonstrate, I will remove it, right? So that you are forced to do it. There it is. So it installs it, and it adds Express as a dependency. Okay, right? The other dependency you'll need for this assignment to work, you'll need body parser. So let's install also body parser. Install body-parser. Again, if I just install body parser, it'll install it locally, but it will not add it as a dependency. Meaning, you have a local install, everything will work locally, but for some reason it doesn't work remotely on Heroku. And we'll get these questions over all this week and next week. Why does it work locally, but it doesn't work on Heroku, right? And the standard answer you'll get is, did you forget to use the -- save? Okay. Right, so remember, when you install something, -- save is your friend. So it makes an entry there. So what Heroku will do is it will read your package JSON, it'll run npm install and install all the packages. Right, the very first thing that it'll do. Right, so again, if I blow away our node module, okay, I don't have any libraries installed. Okay. What Heroku is going to do is going to run npm install all by itself, right? This will read the dependencies and will install all the libraries that your project depends on, right? It'll read and install Express and body parser, and will recreate the I can't type. It'll recreate the node modules directory. Everybody okay? Okay. All right. So let's create our little server. And here's a cheat sheet that Express gives you. We'll need to require the library. This is the equivalent of doing an import or an include, right, in some other languages. And what it does is that it loads that library. This looks up for the library inside the node modules directory. Right? If it doesn't have anything in front of it, it assumes that it's inside of node modules. If instead you give it a path, right, it will physically look for it in the path that you give it. Right? But if you don't give it anything in front of it, it will assume that you mean a package installed under node modules. Make sense? So you can create your own modules, right, and submit them into npm.js, and they would be available in npmjs.org. Anybody can submit modules here, and then somebody can do an npm install your module, right? It'll be installed under the node modules directory, right? And then somebody can just require your new library, your new cool library. Yes, and I encourage you all to create your own little packages and make them available in the open source community, so other folks can use it, right? So that's how Express got in there, and now we have it. There it is. We have it. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is, again, following the cheat sheet, is that we're going to create an instance. Right. So Express is actually a function, right, inside this library. This library returns a reference to a function. So Express is a function. Here we're calling the function, and it's like a constructor, right? Creates an instance, and now app is an instance variable. Okay, right? Now that we have it, we can do a couple of things. One of the things that we can do, if we go a little bit down further, we can create a server that listens at a particular port. There it is. There we have created a server that listens at port 3000. With 3 lines of code, we have a server. Okay? It's not a very interesting server, right? If we just run it, and we run node server.js, it's listening at port 3000 right now. Okay? But it doesn't know what to do with it. I mean, if we try to hit it, notice that if the server's not running and I do a localhost 3000, it says there's no site, right? But if we have a server running there, and I try that again, notice that now it tells me, yep, there is a server listening at that port, but I asked for the root right here, the root. But there's nothing mapped to it, right? The server doesn't know what to do with that root request. Okay, so we could go back and stop the server and tell it to do something. We could say that if the Express instance gets an HTTP GET request, that's an HTTP GET request, at the root / then I would like to execute the following code, right? This function, right? What we could do is say console log yay, okay? And if we rerun this, if we rerun the server, and we hit the browser respond, notice that it still says that it can't get anything, but on the terminal it didn't work. Wait, what? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. There it is. I was looking in the wrong place. The yeah you can barely see down here. Okay, so that function did execute, right? The function did execute, but as far as the server client is concerned, the server never responded, right? You can look at you can inspect, you can look at the network traffic, right? If we look at the network traffic and refresh, notice that the request is pending, right? I mean, it went out to the server, but the server never responded. Okay, the request got there, but the server never responded. So the server is not participating in the client server cycle, right? The request went out, but the server failed to respond, right? So we can fix that. Instead, the way we can fix it is that when Express calls our function, meaning when it listens for this incoming root request and it executes the function, we can ask Express to pass us objects, right, that will allow us to participate in the client server cycle, right, in the client server life cycle. Okay, we can read everything that comes from the client. Anything the client ever has to say will be represented by that first variable, right? The IP address from the request, right? Any cookies, any headers, any form submissions, anything that comes from the client is going to be represented by this first object. The second object allows us to participate on the second half of that life cycle, be able to send back something to the client, right? So, for instance, we could say response res send back a hello world, right, from the server, right? So if we restart the server, and we refresh this page, we get the hello world, right, sent back from the server, right? We can see here we can spy on the network communication here that this is the request that went out, right, and this is the response the raw response that came back from the server. Make sense? Right. So that's all Express is, right? Express is a library that very quickly allows us to create these HTTP servers that can receive requests and then generate a response back. Everybody good? All right. Now this is one way that we can generate response back to the client. I mean, it would be very cumbersome to have to write HTML here. Ideally, HTML would live on its own file, right? And we could stream that file back to the server. But then for each individual path here, we would need to map it to whatever we want to send back. It's very cumbersome. It's very inconvenient having to write each single route, right? And what is that we want to send back. Instead, well, like a more convenient way would be if we could just put all the files right under a particular directory, and then just map it and say, hey, all the static content right lives under the public directory, right? And so automatically map all these incoming requests, map them to a physical directory or physical content inside of the public directory. Okay? And that's the next thing we'll do. Right? We'll come in here in Express, and if we search for public somewhere here, find public, we're going to add this additional line here. We'll remove this. We're going to say, you know what, instead of me telling you where everything is, okay, I want you to automatically, when a path comes in, map that path, map it to a physical directory and a physical file under the public directory. And this is what this line says. So map all incoming static requests, right, all the CSS, all the HTML, any JavaScript, all the ASCII files, just any ASCII file, or even images, right, any static content, just put it, it's all in the public directory, in the current directory, followed by the public directory. Right, so you could call the public directory whatever you want to call it, but public is a very common name for public directory. And like the name says, public, anything that you put in there is meant to be publicly available. Okay, like for instance a browser, somebody's browser coming and perusing through here. So don't put anything that is meant to be private or secure. Do not put it in the public directory. All right. All right. So once we do that, we can now start putting in here actual content. Right. For instance, this index page is already there. So if we restart the server from the command line, and we go back here, and we wanna retrieve this one index page. Public, again, public is going to be mapped to the root / and then under there'll be a file called index.html. So let's go and fetch that. So we should be able to just say /index.html. / is mapped to public, right? This is mapped to public, and then in there that index page is this one index page. Right? So if we do that, it comes back with a very huge content here. There it is. This is the default web page that you are supposed to make look spectacular. Okay? This is the landing page for your web, for your course. Right? Just here are some example links to your local project if you're hosting it on the same repository. Your assignment, which you are definitely hosting in this same repository. Your any GitHub repositories, lectures and whatnot. Yes? Everybody okay? All right. Index page, because index page is a special name, right? Index page is a special file, right, that has a specific name, index.html. If I don't provide the name of the file, the server is going to assume that that's the file you want. So if I refresh this page, notice that I didn't ask specifically for index page, but I still got the content of the index page. Yes, because of the task or the goal of the index page is to serve as an index, right, for the rest of the directory structure, right? Right. So from here I should be able to get to everything else, right? Everybody good? All right. But I can certainly navigate to the assignment, right? I can go, assignment index, right? So /assignment, /index, and there it is, the assignment. Or I can omit the index page, and I'll still get the index page, right? And that's configurable. Each server can be configured for different default pages. Some servers have also index.asp or index.php or index.jsp or whatever infrastructure you're using. Yes? Some others have home. Some others have other default pages. Everybody okay? All right. All right. So next, now that we have the beginnings of an index page, I like to introduce some of the more additional infrastructure that we'll be working on this semester. In particular, Angular, right? The first library that we're going to be looking at, not next week, but the following. But I'd like to get going on that. So let me stop this.